Finnish native breeds and needed research. The Finnish native breeds are one Finn horse, which is divided into 4 subgroups: trotting, riding, small horse and walking horse. 3 native cattle: Western Finn cattle, Eastern Finn cattle and Northern Finn cattle. 3 native sheep: Finn sheep, Åland sheep or Ahvenanmaa sheep in Finnish, and Kainuu grey sheep. 1 native goat, 1 native hen, which have about 12 different subpopulations, 1 Nordic bee, 7 native dogs, which are Suomen ajokoira, Suomen pystykorva, Pohjan pystykorva. Pohjan pystykorva is a population, and Lapin porokoira, Suomen lapinkoira, Karjalan karhukoira, and Seiskarin koira, and Seiskarin koira, that's a population. Native cats have not been investigated. Our native pig is extinct. There used to be 3 different types. And we don't have any native turkey, geese, ducks or rabbits. Western Finn cattle, it's shortened LSK. So if you are working in a cow stable, then usually it's talked about LSK. It means just Western Finn cattle. The internal diversity of the population is mapped by collecting photos of cows and with different appearances, and they can then be valuable in terms of diversity. We do also have to collect stories related to the native animal characters, and we collect also old photos of native cattle, especially then in these 3 counties here mentioned, because there was most of these Western Finn cattle. Then we have the Eastern Finn cattle, which actually was also in the central of Finland, but the name of it is Eastern Finn cattle. And on these very old photos here, you can see how it used to look like. These photos, most of them are from the pedigree books that were made in the beginning when they started to work with this breed in order to make it to become a breed. So that's why these photos actually are not reflecting how diverse this Eastern Finn cattle actually was. What you can see is that some are with horns and other are without. Here you can see Finn cattle in Karelia, and you can see that there are actually different marks and colors. Eastern cattle, we have also to map this internal diversity and collect photos of them. We don't have very big photo banks of them that we can actually look on how do they look. They may be most valuable in terms of diversity, those who are unusual looking or not standard looking according to the breeding pedigree data that, or this breeding goals that were made more than 100 years ago. We collect stories related to these cattle, and we contact also Karelian organizations to find out what animals were brought to Finland to see how they looked at that time. There may be a higher genetic diversity in Karelian compared to other areas of Finland. The Northern Finn cattle is then actually much more diverse. It's shortened PSK for in Finnish. And there are even also some grey speckled cows that have been found among these Lapland's cow. And this grey color can be born naturally if you mate them in a certain colors after each other. But they can also be like genetically in them, because there has been grey native cows also among Finn cattle, and they died out in the beginning of the 20th century. We still do also to look out for that. Could we still find this type of cattle? It was a part of the Karelian herds and also of the northern Finnish cattle. So it's just one type of our native cattle that we used to had. We don't know actually what the people named this cattle. In Sweden there was similar, and also in Estonia, and they were calling these cattle to like having a helmet, like having a cover on the head, or in Estonia the word could be translated also with an animal with a mask on. About this type of cattle there has been writing. There was one a male Junno, and that was used, and it is said that even though Junno has been important in the breeding of our cattle, it has ruined the type with its whiteness head. So it was not looked up on as this would have been a beautiful cattle. Also to be totally red cattle, especially among those northern Finn cattle, the Lappish red cattle. And in the beginning it was like a B category in the pedigree. And still we find also these red colors among the northern Finn cattle. So, but here is a photo. We can see that it was like totally covered and totally red. That has to be done in Finn horses. Still, there has been written several books about Finn horses. So Finn horses are among our native breeds the most have been written, and most have been collected about them. There has been made a book, for example, also about the Finn horse in the war, because it was played also an important role during the war. So anyway, especially the working horse is very valuable, and there are very few of them left. So we collect photos then of Finn horses in different working works that they carry out, new photos. So not we have a lot of these old photos of Finn horses working. And also, of course, it's very interesting to see a lot of photos of these different colors and different marks of the Finn horses that the Finn horse has. We have one native hen in Finland, and there are then 12 populations with different outlooks, and some of them are also looking a little bit similar. So they are just the results of that they were found in different geographical localities in Finland. Of course, originally there was one native hen population, which was very diverse. So we collect nowadays both old and new photos and stories about native hens, and animal owners are interviewed, and we look for new old outlooks among native hens. So because when you it may be that you get back some kind of old recessive genes if you are in a very diverse way making the mating between different populations. But there are also those that are preserving native hens, so those are then keeping them separately. But in order to get back this original high diversity of the hens, of course, the best would be to keep them all in just one group and not separately. But it's important to have this both way of preservation, so both separately and then mixing them together. We have one native goat in Finland, and we are making interviews with goat farmers and collect old and new photos of native goats. We also collect stories about native goats, and we collect information related to cultural traditions, especially about their management and processing of goat milk. So the native Finnish pig is extinct, but there used to be three different ones. The northern Finnish pig, then one called Pirtasika pig, which was most in Karelian, so in the eastern parts of Finland, and then there was in the western parts of Finland one that had perhaps a little bit bigger ears. It's called like the ear pig, or luppokora. It means that the ears are dropping forward and are kind of big. So we collect old photos of native pigs before the war and after, because we don't exactly know when it died out. We collect photos of pigs outdoor at pastures, if some families may have such pictures in their photo albums. And we carry out interviews with old pig owners. And we are also looking for pigs on the Russian side in Karelia and Arkhangelsk areas, and also look for pig hairs for DNA analysis. Our native dogs were nearly all connected to hunting, and we collect old photos related to hunting where the dog can be seen, and we collect also stories about native dogs and their characters. And there may be reindeer dogs that are not registered, and they could be found them in this reindeer herding area in northern Finland, and we search for those and take photos of those. And on the photo you can see my grandfather and my grandfather's father. Both of them were hunters later on, and they were using then this Suomen pystykorvakoira in hunting. And there are now big hen birds, or like wild birds, different wild birds, that my grandfather's father had been hunting here, but he did also hunt squirrels and was using this dog then in hunting squirrels as well. The squirrel hunt he stopped in 1950s, because then if you got less than 5 squirrels, then it didn't pay off to hunt them anymore. And nowadays there is really not any hunting on squirrels, so there are not so many of them anymore. But it used to be a very important animal in these squirrel skins were sold, and you could get a lot of money for them many hundred years ago. And the Nordic dark bee has been looked for in Finland, but it has mainly been then relying on the Swedish work with Nordic dark bee. So there has been a big cooperation, important cooperation with the Swedes concerning the Nordic dark bee. So we have to learn to know the Nordic dark bee again, and also make interviews with those who keep Nordic dark bees. And also we could look for possible new populations of dark bees, but it has not been so successful, this work. And of course, we could also look for these old bee trees, because these beehives that were in living trees, if you have very old pine trees, then maybe there would be a sign of that there could have been such. For example, on this photo is from Estonia, but this is how an old beehive tree looks like. And this was most likely still used in 1930s. There are some few of those trees still remaining in Estonia. An island and archipelago and coastal area, then we make interviews with the owners of Åland sheep and collect photos and stories about these sheep. And we collect also old photos and stories about West Finnish sheep from the coastal region of Western Finland. We are looking for West Finnish sheep on the west coast of Finland. There may be not left any of those anymore, but maybe there are some who have been keeping sheep for a long time. So this original Finn sheep, the sheep that were kept in Finland, was very diverse, and Åland sheep is a part of it, as is this Kainu grey sheep. And this type of Kainu grey sheep, this was like found in smaller or several small populations, and they are changing the color. So when they are born, they are black, and then they turn into gray, and the tongue of the animal is usually lilac in color. And this same type of sheep you find also among Swedish and Estonian and other native sheep population belonging to the North European short-tailed sheep. So we want also interviews with those who are keeping Kainu sheep, and collect both old and new photos, which are mostly in those who used to keep this type of sheep in their photo albums. And And of course, yeah, collect different marks that also these sheep may have. So this Finnish sheep, then we are looking for diverse sheep herds. There are still Finn sheep that are not fine-wooled with very coarser fibers. And we make interviews with the owners, we take photos, collect stories, and we pay this special attention to this processing of sheep wool, washing wool, sheep care and feeding animals, use of milk. It has been very little used, the sheep milk in Finland. And then processing products, of course, also look for different marks and different these wool wool types. We do also gather information about all sustainable production processing methods related to sheep. So in Finland, we have two different types of cats, you could say. We have these short-furred cats, and then we have those with long fur. And this type of long fur cat, the same type has been made into a breed in Norway. It's called the Norwegian forest cat. And we have this same type also had in Finland. It's less and less left of them. It seems like it's perhaps recessive, so that when it's mating with the short-haired cat, then usually the short hair is dominating. So this is getting more and more rare, these long-haired cats. The long-haired cat have also wool under the foot, or yeah, hairs under the foot. So we look for cats that look like these Norwegian forest cats in Finland at farms, and there are less and less farms, so it's clear that also these native cat types are getting extinct. We can make interviews with cat owners about their cat and take photos of them. And just ordinary cow stable cats, photos of those are also welcome. Most important is that we learn to know the native animals in our neighboring countries, such as Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Northwest Russia. So when we know how all these surrounding native animals look like, then we also recognize our own native animals.